Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the Ugomari Football Channel. And today we have interesting things to talk about and to discuss today. So let's go straight into it. There are different to talk about. We're talking about transfer moves by two very key two players of Nigerian origin that are eligible to play for Nigeria, and one is a wonder kid going to Belgium. One is heading to Spain. So we'll be talking about that as well, and we'll be looking at players that can really add some spice to the Nigerian Super Eagles as well, some new possible new faces. And I'd like to know what you think about these ones as well. And we'll be looking at programs that will be coming up on this channel. So let's go straight into it. First off is Nigeria Wonder Kid Vince Osuji has signed for Club Brugge in Belgium. He used to play for Kalmar FF in the Swedish league, and he's joined them. And for me, I think it's an important move. It's a huge move for the player. You know, going to Sweden, winning in the Swedish league, he played very well, was excellent there, and he's left there, and now he's gone to an even stronger league, a better club, in my opinion, in Club Brugge. And for me, I think that can only bode well for him personally and for Nigerian Super Eagles. Now, the question I want to pose is: Does this move is this move sufficient to earn him a place in at least a preliminary Super Eagles squad, or you'd rather he sort of has plays the remainder of this season, and then and then Chelle can consider inviting him or not inviting him? I know he's young; he's only 18 years old, so maybe that's something to consider. But one thing I've always said is you can never have enough talent, and secondly, you don't want your squad to get old or to age at the same time. So for me, he's a wonderful player. If you don't know about him, I talked about him in my previous video. He is, an energetic player, pacey, aggressive. Has good range of passing. Can play in a back three. Can play in a two-man midfield, in a two-man defense, centre back pair rather. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully, he is invited. One thing I've noticed is other countries, they put high premium on their young players, but for Nigeria, for some reason, we always have an excuse, we always have a reason to to not play these players, not invite them. But I think he's a special player, and I think he should be invited, even if he doesn't make the final 15 or 25. But at least he can be on standby, because I think Nigeria really needs defenders. So Vince Osuji is one of them. Igor is one of them as another one as well. But this move, I think, is really important for his development, and he joins up with, Rafael Onyedika at the Club Brugge. I think that would help him to settle down in Belgium, and then hopefully he gets to start and plays. I know some people will say, "Oh, why didn't he go to the Premier League?" So for me, I think sometimes going to the Premier League may not be the best for a young player, because sometimes you don't get the opportunity, you don't get the time, to really develop and master your game. But for me, I think so going to Belgium is better for Vince Osuji at this point in his career and his development. So for me, that's something that's a good move overall. So I wonder what you think about this move. Let me know in the comment section. And then now also we're talking about another player that's made a move as well, that there's strong discussions between his present club and a prospective new club, and the deal could be worth 5 million euros. So let's see what happens with that one. And he is Akor Adams. Akor Adams is another very, very interesting player, very good striker. He plays for Montpellier, and whilst he's played for Montpellier, he's all in the last 2 seasons at least he's hit double figures, or he's hit double digits in terms of goals and assists. So I think moving on to Sevilla in Spain would be very good for him. But then, incidentally, one man's sort of victory or joy is another man's suffering. Would I say suffering, or would be the detriment of another Nigerian player? Unfortunately, and that's Kelechi Iheanacho. So he'll be leaving. So Kelechi Iheanacho would be replaced by Akor Adams if this rumored move, or not rumored move, if negotiations move as expected and is indeed signed, he would take his place. So, and that's what I've been saying. The national team, I've been saying this for a while, that Kelechi Iheanacho hasn't really been pulling his weight. Hasn't really been pulling his weight, hasn't really been scoring that much goals. So I don't see why he's been invited to the Nigerian Super Eagles the last in the last international break. And now you see Akor Adams taking his place in Sevilla, and that I think would mean Akor Adams should take his spot in the Nigerian Super Eagles as well. And just like for Club Brugge, Akor Adams will be meeting another Nigerian there as well in Sevilla. So he'll be coming up, he'll be meeting Chidera Juke, and Chidera Juke, they can both form a lovely partnership because Chidera Juke, we all know he's spacey, he's skillful, he has all those wonderful attributes, and they can have a good partnership that could then bode well for the Nigerian Super Eagles if you already have players that have that sort of understanding of chemistry. So I think that would, that would all well for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So Kevin Marvel says he's still very young. With time, he will move to bigger leagues. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Kelvin. He's still young. Go to a league where you're going to play, regularly, develop your game, become better, get used to stiffer competition, then and then see how things work out. And if you impress there, then you can head up to the Premier League, then you can head up to Spain, to Germany, and progress that way. So for me, I think it's a brilliant move for him as long as he gets to play. Because one thing you don't want to happen to a player is go to a club in a league that is good, but not, I wouldn't say it's the top three leagues in the world, and you go there and you don't play, but hopefully he's going to play. Because one thing I know is, unlike the Premier League where all the clubs have money, in Belgium, relatively they don't have as much money as they have in the Premier League. So I think they try to make every penny count, every euro they spend, they try to make it count. So I think as a result, he's going to play. So he's going to play because of what they spent on him. He's going to play. So in my opinion, that's a good move for him. I wonder what you all think about the move on Akor Adams. Is someone I've been calling out for to be included in Nigerian Super Eagles. And it's good that he is now be heading to Sevilla and he'll be playing. And like I said earlier on, that means he will be taking the spot of Kelechi Iheanacho. So and I hope he also takes the spot of Kelechi Iheanacho in the national team. Except Kelechi Iheanacho comes into good form, where whichever club he decides to go to. Because one thing I've always said is you must update your resume. You must update your resume as a player every day, every time. And the only way you update your resume is what you do in the league, what you do playing club football. That's what that's how you update your resume. You don't, you don't, use your history, what you've done 5 years ago, 4 years ago, to still command a spot in the team. That doesn't happen, and that shouldn't happen. I know Nigerian Super Eagles have done that a lot. In terms, in the Nations Cup, we had Ahmed Musa in the team when we knew he was not going to play. Ahmed Musa has been a fantastic servant for the Super Eagles, but we all knew he wasn't going to play. But for some reason, they invited him to the team, and then he ended up taking the place of people that could play. And I said before, if a player has maybe some rich experience but he can no longer play, you can always come up with a role. And if you come up with a role, say player liaison officer, player interaction officer, give him a fitness coach or something, and it's part of the team. But so that, and then what you have is then you don't have the person taking the spot of someone that can actually contribute. So Kevin Marvel said, I'm happy we are having younger guys with lots of potential. These young talents can go to more World Cups. I agree with you completely. I do agree with you completely. But the only issues that I have is with the NFF, and to a lesser degree, the attitude of Nigerians to these young players, because there's always excuses. Each time you're talking about a younger player being involved in Super Eagles, you have people who will come up to say, "Oh, do you think it's Lamine Yamal? Oh, do you think it's this European player?" But one thing I've always said is making it as a Nigerian professional is far more difficult, and that it's far more difficult than making it as a Brazilian player or making it as a European player, because one, you have better structure for one, and then secondly, you have publicity, you have narrative around, and young players, so you get to know from day one how fantastic a 12-year-old is, how fantastic a 15-year-old is, and then by the time they already get to 17, 18, you already see them as top class players. But Nigerian players is different. You have to struggle, work hard, in the national league, and because of the way the league is, you have to leave. You don't have that foundation of growing there, and the media doesn't really do that much, to promote these talents, talk about these talents, to create that hype around talent. So for me, I think what you have in Europe, what you have in Brazil, is you have generational platform, that have existed for a long time, where you have this platform that sort of, publicizes players when they're young, put them, in the eyes of the media, put them in the consciousness of people, and then you begin to rate them. And like I said in previous videos, if you look at any list that comes up, when they say top 20, talents, top 20, top 20 under maybe under 19 young stars, rising stars. You never see a Nigerian player there. And why is that? Is it because Nigerian players are not good enough, or you don't have any fantastic young talent in Nigeria? No, that's not the reason. The reason is the media coverage from Europe doesn't really touch Nigeria in that regard. And I've said it, that is not the responsibility. Because at some point in my life, I used to be like, "Oh, this is unfair. European media, why don't you praise African players, Nigerian players the way you praise English players, German players, and all that?" After some point, I got to realize that responsibility lies on us. It lies on content creators like myself. It lies on the media in Nigeria, for instance, the media in Ghana, to talk about these talents. I'm not saying you hype someone who doesn't have talent. Of course you don't. But you hype players that have talent, obviously. So that's my opinion in that regard. And so hopefully at some point we get to see these two players in the national team. And then for me, I want to talk about some new faces I would like to see, called up. Some would have to have the nationality switched, but I don't mind, because for me, you need to get talent anywhere you can get it. As long as they're eligible to play for you, you get them to play for you, in my humble opinion. And then so there's this guy, Tosin Adarabayo. We've seen his quality at Chelsea. We've seen, what he's been able to do with the few moments he's got coming off the bench or taking the spot of injured with Fofana in the team. You see him is 6'5". He is, for me, the successor of William Troost Ekong. William Troost Ekong is 36. And this World Cup, he may or may not go to the World Cup in 36. So this AFCON this year might be his last tournament with the Super Eagles. But then he'll be 37. So are we quite sure that at 38 he'll still be able to go for the World Cup? Though from what I can see, he takes care of himself very well. But I think we've come to the point where we have to start planning for the future. And for me, Tosin Adebayo is just primed, ready to take that spot. He's, like I say, he's 6'5", he's very tall. He's got the range of passing. I've also seen that, just like William Troost Ekong, he has an eye for goal. We also see that he has an eye for goal. He scored 3 goals already this season as a centre back. So he is the prototypical successor for William Chus Ekong. So I want him to be in the team. Lots of people go on to say, "Oh, we don't beg anybody. We don't want to beg players to play for us." For me, that's not the point. I keep saying this. That's not the point. You know, that's not the point. You never Samuel Omorigian would play for Spain. You never hear them say that they are begging him. You never hear that. Liam Delap, who is Irish, could end up playing for England, but you never hear them say, "Oh, we're begging him to play for us." No. Oh, people say, "Oh, we're a big brand." No. Sometimes, I've said it before, you have to look at things from the perspective of these players, because players never really have that choice to switch of nationality when it comes to international football. That is usually. But sometimes when you have this dual nationality, have that option. And for just like every good thing, people will always be competing for the attention of these players. You know, if you want to, if the new iPhone, if iPhone 17 comes up later on this year, you see people queuing up, very long queues, wanting to get the iPhone because it's a good product. Everyone wants to get their hands on it. Same thing. Those things that lead you to play for England, lead you to play for Nigeria. So that would be it. You have that sort of decision the player has to make. So you have to, sell your project to these players. So for me, but to be honest, we don't need to bet those. Since years back, he declined to play for Nigeria. We see players like Osaze, Lukman, Victor Moses. Why didn't they wait for long to play for Nigeria? I get your point, Kelvin. For me, there are two sort of sides to this, right? If you go and you meet Tosin Aderobayo, you sell him your project, you tell him what you want to do, you tell him his role in the team, you tell him how important it's going to be for you going forward, and he says, "No, I want to play for England," and all that. Okay, fine, let him go. But one point I want to make is Lukman played for Nigeria not because it was what I would call a happy accident. Ademola Lukman playing for Nigeria is what I'll call a happy accident. Ademola Lukman's career didn't go as planned. That's why he ended up playing for Nigeria. His career didn't go as planned because he was an excellent talent that played for Charlton at Charlton. Then he moved. He got the move to Everton, Fulham, and the rest. And then he missed that penalty at Fulham. And the moment that penalty happened, you need to see what the media, everyone criticized him. Oh, the penalty he took on Sky Sports. Some pundits were saying, "Oh, the way he took the penalty, he took it for himself," and all that stuff. He took it for himself. He wasn't thinking about the team and all that. And then he went to Italy to play for Atlanta. And usually the thing in England is once you leave the Premier League, it's very, very, very difficult for the selectors to consider you as good enough. We've seen Tomori. Tomori won the league with AC Milan, but Maguire, who was struggling, was taken ahead of him. So you can't wait for things like this to happen. Now there are two things for me. You have to sell this thing to these players. They may accept, they may not accept, but you have to sell this to these players. And one thing you have to understand about dual nationals is sometimes it's the information they've got whilst they were young and growing up. That's something key to say. So for me, NFL should do their best to try to convince him. If he ends up not wanting to play for Nigeria, that's fine. That's okay. But the thing we put about begging and stuff, just Lenny Kenna, France wants to get him. Would you say that's begging? They want to get him to play for them. So meanwhile, he'll be 28 by September. I don't think we even need him. No. 28. He's a centre back. 28. He can still play till he's 32, 33. We're talking about Tus Ekong that will play this Nations Cup at 37. So if he's 28 by September, he can still play in the World Cup. He'll be 29 in the World Cup, you know, and then he can still play in the next AFCON. So I don't think the age matters at this minute. So I don't think we need him, Suji and Calvin Bassey. For me, if you're playing the back three, I don't think Calvin Bassey can play in that middle and play as the central centre back. I don't think so. He's best as a left back or as a left centre back. Vince Osuji, he can try to play in that central centre back role. It's a two-man midfield. But if you're playing a two-man centre back pairing, but if you're playing a three-man centre back defense, then you have to either be on the right or on as a right centre back or as a left centre back. That's my opinion. My own, like I said, NFF, do your best. If he ends up saying, "Well, I want to play for England," you let him, because there are two sides to this. The thing about it is that be careful. This is a message I always put out to dual nationals. Be careful, because you're always told this, oh, the African country isn't good enough, oh, they're bad, oh, they're this, oh, they're corrupt and all that. And then you end up going for the supposed perfect European country. And then sometimes it doesn't work out. Like Karim Adeyemi is in the top spot right now. I think he shouldn't be in the top spot if his lawyers are really serious, but he's in the top spot right now. We saw what happened to Jordan Ebe. His head got turned to play for England. We saw what happened to, Cole, the West Ham striker that was eligible to play for Nigeria. He played for England just one game, and that was it. And it was over for him. So I get that bit. But one thing we have to understand is when it comes to these dual national players with dual nationality, you have to push, because at that time, when you're talking about dual nationals, you're not the only person that wants them. We've seen it. You're not the only person that wants them. And one thing I want to point out is Nigeria is not the only country that have dual nationals. Ask yourself this question: why do Moroccan players with dual nationality play for Morocco? Why do they just love to play for Morocco? Why do they just love to play for Algeria? You have some Algerians that have French nationality and Algerian nationality, but once the Moroccan FA gets in touch with them, they switch. Same thing with Morocco. It's because they see this pure and clear intent. So, and we must be honest, we know how the NFF operates. We know how they operate. They may not be doing things the way they should, but like I said, there are two sides to this. If you do your best and in good conscience, as the NFF or Nigerian Sports Commission, you've done your best, and the player still says, "Oh, I want to play for England. Oh, I want to play for Italy. I want to play for France." Then that's fine. You've done your best. You can sleep with a good conscience. So that's my opinion regard to Tosin Adebayo. I want to talk about two other players, but unfortunately, I won't be able to put their image up on here. So the first one is Ethan Nwaneri. Ethan Nwaneri, I think, is a player that Nigeria should look at, because he's an Arsenal player and he plays in a position where, for all the talent that Nigeria produces, Nigeria doesn't really produce in high number and high quality in that role, and that is the number 10 role. So for me, I think Ethan Nwaneri is someone that the NFF should consider. And I don't want to hear the excuse of, "Oh, he's too young." No. Get him in. Ethan Nwaneri is somebody that would be a difference maker for the Nigerian Super Eagles in that 10 role, especially if Eric Chelle will be going for his 4-3, 4-3-1-2 formation. That if you have a 10 behind two strikers, then you need to try your best to get a 10. And Ethan Nwaneri, although he can play wide on left, but for me, I think his best position is playing as a 10, as a central attacking midfielder behind, a striker or two strikers. And I think he will do well, for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So let's not talk about his age, whether he's 18, It doesn't matter. And we'll get the usual thing that people will say, he's not Lamine Yamal. I don't care that he's not Lamine Yamal. I don't care. Oh, he's not Estavayer William. I don't care. He's not Estavayer William, we know. And we don't have Vinicius Jr. as well in Nigeria. Get the best talent you can get. Don't look down on your own talents, because some Nigerians are ready to praise Estavayer William to the highest level, but he has not left Brazil and gone to Europe. We've seen Brazilians leave Europe, tagged as wonder kids in Brazil, but land in Europe, they struggle and they become journeymen. So I'm not saying it will happen for Estavayer William. He could come to Chelsea and be absolutely world class from day one. Yeah. So Ethan Nwaneri, I think, is one player that the NFF should look at, should start working on to get to play for Nigerian Super Eagles. That's one person I want to point out as well. And then still staying on that 10 role business is Kelechi Iheanacho, someone that the NFL should look at as well, in my opinion, for that 10 role, especially again, like I said, if Eric Chelle will be going with this formation where you have to have a 10 in information. So that's one that you also look at as well, that he may be moving to Dortmund. And I think if he does move to Dortmund, then that would be an advantage. That would be the opening, that the NFF needs to get in touch with the player, in my opinion. So I wonder what you think about, think about these players I've talked about. Do you like the idea of dual national playing for Nigeria? For me, I do. Even if you have a drop of Nigerian blood in you and you're capable of playing, and producing for the country, for me, you should be in there. It happens with Spain. It happens with Italy. It happens with Ireland. It happens with England. If you want to win, you have to look at the best available talents you have. So talking about best available talents, there's one player who is an absolute wonder kid. He's been playing in, the TTC League in Nigeria and been scoring goals for fun. And, he's heading to Europe this year. And I just can't wait to see what he does in Europe. But before I talk about this player, I want to talk about some things you should expect to see on this channel. So we know the African Footballer of the Year, Ademola Lookman. I'll be having a program that will be tagged in focus. So I'll be looking at Ademola Lookman, talking about how inspirational he's been and how, he sort of turned what was meant to be, the end of his career to, revival of his career. He missed the penalty for Fulham, and then everything seemed to go pear-shaped. But he turned it around. He's gone to Atlanta, and he's been absolutely fantastic, scoring goals for fun, assisting for fun. He's world class. And like I said, if his name was Ademino, he would have been tagged to be 80-90 million pound player. Clubs would have been all over him. I'm telling the truth. If he was at Ademino, he would have been tagged heavily and paid heavily to play. And one thing I always want to say that people don't get is, of course, talent is important. Talent is the main thing. If you can't trap a football, no matter the hype, no matter the narrative, that's spoken, that's put out there in your favor, it won't matter for much. But when you have the talent, and then even a little talent, and then the hype, the positive narrative comes about you, puts you in the eye of the media, makes you look like a mega superstar, then you get the big moves. Then you get to play for the big clubs. Then you get the big endorsement deals. And one thing I want to talk about Nigerian football ecosystem is we should stop pulling down our talents. Whether it's Victor Osimhen, whether it's Ademola Lookman, we should stop being overly critical of these players. We should stop being overly critical of these players, in my humble opinion. We should stop being overly critical of these players. So Calvin Marvel says Chukwuemeka will play for Nigeria. I'm very sure. We miss Mikel Obi. Still no replacement. Yeah, no replacement for Mikel Obi. Speaking about replacement for Mikel Obi, there's one player. He plays for Sampdoria, and he is Ebenezer Akinsemiro. I think he is someone that can slot into that midfield. especially in a deeper role, while you have to be kind of chuku maker ahead of him. Because one thing we lack that Nigeria doesn't produce that much, that players that can control the pace of a game. We have the wingers, pacey, skillful wingers. We'll always produce them lots and lots and lots. We've got the strikers, prolific little strikers. Victor Osimhen, Victor Boniface, Akor Adams, Victor Latunji, Tolu Arokodare. We have a lot of these players. But when it comes to that 10 or that deep line playmaker that can control and dictate the pace of play, that's something that Nigeria really lacks, in my opinion. So I think Benita Kensimero should, of course, he has, and once again, he has just Nigerian nationality, so there's no excuses here. There's no, he wants to choose between us and Spain, between us and Italy. He has just Nigerian nationality. Go and get the boy to play for us. And then Kanu Chukwuemeka as well. Hopefully he gets to play for Nigeria. And let's see how that goes. So for me, so Ademola Lookman, the program will be coming up, and just keep your eyes peeled. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, please do subscribe to the channel. Please notification bell so you're notified each time a video comes on the channel, so you can watch, so you can like, share the channel as well. That would really, really be helpful. So thank you all for all those of you who have been subscribing to the channel. It's really, really been encouraging and amazing in my opinion. So Ademola Lookman will be coming up, focusing on the player, and then we'll be having new blood. For me, there are seven players, top 7 new bloods, top 7 new bloods. So I'll be focusing on these players, not new bloods as by their ages alone, but, what they can do for the team. So we've got one player here, I'll leave his name for later. There's Tolu Arokodare, there's Uyubuchi Obasi, and there's this Noah Adedeji Stamberg. Noah Adedeji Stamberg, I didn't know of him, I'll say 2-3 months ago. But when I did my research and I watched the guy play, I said, "Phew, this is an amazing talent that Nigeria shouldn't lose to Germany or lose to Belgium." His dad is Nigerian, his mom is German, and I think he has some link to Belgium that could make it that he could play for Belgium. So Nigeria shouldn't let him sleep. And then you have a Benita Kensimero, and then you have Nathan Taylor as well, and then Tusa Dorobayo that I've talked about. So so that's it for this. You keep your eyes on the lookout on the channel for this program that'll be coming up. So top 7 new bloods. So talking about talent, because I've mentioned it each time you talk about talent and you talk about dual-nationality, must you always be the ones born overseas? Like I said, for me, I don't care. If the person is born overseas, if it doesn't matter, as long as he's able to play for Nigeria, has the ability to play, wants to play, get him in, But there's Arehi Parabo, an absolute wonder kid. You won't see it in, British media, Italian media. You won't see anyone writing articles about it. And like I said, it's not the responsibility of the English media to do that. It's not the responsibility of Italian media to do that. It is the responsibility of Nigerian media, of Nigerian content creators to talk about these players. Because if you expect, like what my dad will always say, if you expect another man to do for you, you are finished. If as Nigerians, if as Africans, we expect other countries to praise our own players, then we are lost. Look at Brazil. They have a way they hype their players. Create positive narrative around their players. And for the players are seen as superstars. That is why you see an 18-year-old Brazilian, automatically, even us as Nigerians will look at it and say, "Oh, this player is better than our own 18-year-old," because of what the media have done for that player. I'm not saying you promote players because you want to promote them. They must have the talent, obviously, and this boy has talent in spades. He just keeps scoring goals. On the program, I'll have a live show where we'll just all come together and watch his videos, react to it, and have a discussion around him. So Eric Parabo, he's one player that I think should gradually, he's 18 this year, is one player that I think should now be integrated. Get my point? Integrated, not made the starting striker. He's not replacing Victor Osimhen. He's not replacing Victor Boniface. He's not replacing Tolu Arokudare. He should be integrated to, with the team. 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here. Some games you don't play, but you get used to that setup, to the Super Eagles setup. You know what? Hendrick plays for Brazil. Esteban Williams, how old is he? Plays for Brazil. With all the players they have. So Ari Parabo is one that I want the NFF to, fast track to the Super Eagles. And once again, like I said, he just has Nigerian nationality. So there's not a question of, let's try to convince him between this country or that country. So there's no excuses with this one. Although I say that, but we always have the excuse of, he's too young. Keep that he's too young excuse out. Miss me with the he's too young excuse. Miss me with the he's too young excuse. And then if you miss this show, you can go and check it, which is my reaction to Vince Osuji's transfer and Akor Adams' potential transfer to Sevilla. I don't talk about this video, but I had a video that I did that I just focused on that storyline. So let's go and watch it if you haven't watched it before, and drop your comments there as well. So let's see what you think about that. And then for me, now I've talked about players that should be part of the Nigerian national team. And now for me, there are players I want to talk about that should be nowhere near the Nigerian national team, in my opinion. One, Kelechi Iheanacho should be nowhere near. He's done well for the country in the past, but this is not a job where you do to your 40. It's not a job where not a job you do to your 60, to your 70, And if you're not updating your resume, then you should be nowhere near the national team. If you get a move to England, I hear you would like to move to England. If he gets a move to England, joins Wolves or whichever team, and gets back to form, then it's okay. He's updated his resume. His resume, in the previous months, were poor, bad. Now he's updated it. He's playing very well. Then he can come in. And then for me, Alex Iwobi. People think I don't like the player. I think he's a good player. But for me, the thing is, it's a question of where does he fit in? Where does it fit in my opinion? I don't think it really fits in, because if you're playing that 4-3-1-2 formation, he definitely cannot play in that 3-man central midfield. He can't play there. And in a bit, I'll give the player that can play in that position. I don't think he can play there. And in that 10 role, that's the only place he maybe can get to play, but he is not. And if Eric Chelle sticks to how he wants to play, which is high intensity, high pressing football, then I don't think Iwobi can really play. I don't think he can, because he doesn't have the legs to do that. We've seen it under Guavon. He played after 5-10 minutes. He got exhausted, could no longer move, retired. And he's not super creative enough where you say, this guy doesn't defend, but the way this guy, creates, the way he assists, the way he scores goals, I don't care if he doesn't defend. He should start. So that is the issue I have with Iheanacho. And then to me, Shemi, with Iwobi, and then Shemi Ajayi, I've never really been impressed with him. And now he's getting old as well. I've never really been impressed with him. And I think that's why I've talked about Tosin Adarabioyo. That's why I talk about Vince Osuji. That's why I talk of Igor Ogbu. I don't understand why Igor Ogbu hasn't been invited. And when I talk about these players, people think, you keep mentioning these players, because they're very, very good players. They're top level players. And don't take my word for it. After this video, go on YouTube, search for Igor Ogbu. His name will pop up. You see a number of videos. Watch it and then make your decision, and you see what I'm talking about. You see what I'm talking about. So you have these players, and Semi Ajayi, I don't think should be in the team anymore. And then there's a question I want to pose to you guys. I know I want to talk about the midfield in a bit, but I want to pose a question to you. I know Stanley Wabali is the number one, undisputed number one for the Nigerian Super Eagles. Granted. Now, there's a question of, with Maduka Okoye facing the issues he's been facing, with the betting allegations, match fixing and all that. So who do you think should take his place at the minute? Who do you think is good enough? Which goalkeepers do you think? I think there's Arthur Okonkwo that plays for Wrexham, and then there's Noah Atubulu. I think Noah Atubulu plays in the Bundesliga. I think he can do a good job, not just as a number two, but provide good competition, excellent competition for Stanley Wabale. And that's it. Something I've said in the previous videos, and I'll say it again in this video, which is there should be some competition. Because if players just come into the team and they know, even if I play badly, even if I play like a pregnant, frog, no one is going to replace me. There's no one good enough. Because players know when they do their training, they come from their various clubs, they do their training before a match, they know who is good, they know who is at whose level. And when you know that the person on the bench is not at your level, maybe due to his age or due to his very poor form, you don't really have that inspiration to want to play that well. Because, no matter how you play, your spot is still guaranteed. But if you know that if you play poorly, there's someone right there, ready, willing, able to take your spot, you would be serious with the game. That's why you see some games that Nigeria plays, some players just take it for granted because they know, anyhow we play this game, doesn't matter. The next game, I'll be there. The next international break, I'll be one of the first names on the list. So that's why you need this competition, in my opinion. Now, for me, I want to talk about the midfield now, and I'm looking at it from the standpoint of Eric Chelle going for his formation that he used with Mali, which I've mentioned before, which is the 4-3, 1-2 formation. So for me, in that 3-man midfield, central midfield, I'll be going with these players. Ebenezer Kinsimiro in the middle, Chrysanthus Uche on one side, and then you have Raf Onyedika on the other side. Why I've gone for these players is because they all have energy, they all have legs, they've got technique to match. Because when you're playing in that central midfield role, you have two functions. You must be a dual threat. You must be able to go two ways. You attack and you defend in equal measure. People don't get you attack and you defend in equal measure. So you don't need any passengers there. So I think these three would really make it. And then people might say Ndidi. Let's be honest, you watch Ndidi. Is he still the Ndidi of old? Is he still the Ndidi of old? What I've gone for Ebenezer Kinsimiro over him is Ebenezer Kinsimiro has that energy and legs that Ndidi, I think, he's beginning to lose out on. But he also has that ability to control games. When you watch him play for Sampdoria, you know what I'm talking about. He has the ability to control games, to make those passes, and that's something we lack. That person, that Pello-like person, player in the team that can help you control games, dictate the pace of the game. That's why Nigeria keeps struggling against the likes of Rwanda, with all due respect to Rwanda. You struggle with South Africa because you don't have those players that can control that game, and you just keep going playing a ding-dong affair. Everyone is countering, both teams are countering themselves. But if you indeed have that player that can help control the midfield, coordinate the play, link up defense and attack, then you're in for you're in business. You're in business. So for me, I think Ebenezer Kinsimiro will suit perfectly in there. And Rafa Onyedika has been underutilized, in my opinion, because each time he's invited, but he sits on the bench, gets to play 10 minutes, gets to play 5 minutes, and then you have you will be playing 90 minutes and not doing well. So for me, Onyedika should be there. He can be a goal threat from midfield. He's got the energy, like I said, to play there as well. Santos Uche, people want to tell me he's too young. I don't think so. People want to say someone will tell me he's a striker. I don't think so. He's not a striker. He's just not a striker. People should stop it. He's a midfielder, central midfielder. I'm not, he's just not. He's just not a striker. So I've said this before. Caicedo sometimes plays at right back for Chelsea, but that doesn't make him a right back. He fills in there sometimes. Gusto plays as an 8 sometimes. That doesn't make him an 8. He's a fullback, a right fullback, or a wing back sometimes. Kai Havertz is pushed in to play as a 9. He's not a 9. That's why he misses some goals that he misses. He's not a number 9, but he plays there. And then you now say, oh, because of that, oh, he's a number 9. No, he's not. The same thing with, Cristiano Uche. He's not a striker. He's not. He can't be played close to the striker, or for some tactical reason, maybe that's a false 9 or something. He's not. He's a central midfielder. That's his best position. I don't care what anyone says. He's a central midfielder. When you watch how he plays, you see it. I think he can be Nigeria's own version of Michael Essien. He can be Nigeria's own version of Michael Essien. And he will be, he's not that young again. And like I said, he can't even fit in there. So that's why an opinion on that. And then in that 10 role, if we get Kani Chukwuemeka, he should play there. If we get Nwaneri, he should play there. But in the meantime, whilst we've not got those players, or while the NFF is, they're working on paperwork to get them to play for Nigeria, or just whilst we don't have them, because you have what is ideal, what you want, and then you have what is real. You can want, to have 20 limousines, but if you don't have any, you have to live your life based on what you have. So at this minute, Ademola Lookman should be in that 10 role. If you're playing the 4-3-1 formation, he should be in the 10 role, in my opinion. He must always play. Lookman must play because he's a star, and he's producing, just like he and Osimhen are the main guys in that team. And the main guys are the undroppable people in that team, in my opinion. So I want to know what's your opinion on the goalkeeping situation that I've talked about. What do you think about the goalkeeping situation? What do you think about the goalkeeping situation? What do you think about it? Sanu Wabali, number 1, no doubt about that. But who's the number 2? Who is, your number 2? Who are you going for? Who would you like to see as the second person? So are there any players in the Nigerian Premier Football League that you would think would be able to take that spot as a second spot? Because Maduka Okoye is in that top spot right now. And one thing I want to say, this message to not just footballers, but to everyone. I know some people like to bet, like to gamble. I can't stop anyone from doing gambling, but people that gamble usually are people that don't have that much money. So when you're successful as a footballer, a musician, whatever you are, you're successful, you have money. Why do you go gambling? Because it's very addictive and it's a very tough habit to break. It's a very tough habit to break. And even if you must gamble, don't gamble on your own games. Don't gamble on your own league, because that's the quickest way for you to get into trouble. And don't allow people to deceive you with all this, the league that's sponsored by some gambling companies. Why are they stopping us from gambling? They are different. Don't get yourself in that problem. Don't be a crusader to get yourself in trouble. You're earning enough money, you're earning good money, invest it. Real estate, invest it in tech, start your own football agency. That's a business that footballers don't even know they can start. Start your own football agency. You're well known. The clubs, they know you. They come to you for suggestions of players. Just like I heard that Victor Osimhen suggested his nephew or his friend to Galatasaray. They come to you so you can build up a strong unit where you have when you have these people, when you have sort of business for yourself, if you need an additional source of income, on a footballer salary, you can live very well, superbly well. But if you need additional income, invest in things as opposed to gambling. That's just my 2 cents. So, which goalkeepers are you looking at? Which goalkeepers do you think can take up that position, for as number two and can indeed compete, with Stanley Wabali as the number two, or as potentially being the number one, competing against Stanley Wabali. That position. I talk about Noah Tobolu. I'm going to There'll be a program where I'll feature and talk about him, and so please stay tuned for that as well. And I'll say again, thanks for subscribing. Hope you're liking the channel, you're liking the video. If you like this video so far, please just click that little thumbs up button that's down. So it helps with the algorithm. And so click the like button, notification bell as well. If you haven't subscribed, if you like the content, if you like what's been happening in the channel, subscribe to the channel as well. And then there's one thing I want to do on this channel. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll be giving 5 people 10,000 naira. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, 5 people get 10,000 naira. And one thing I've said as well, I've said it in various videos, I want to say here as well, if you're owner of a grassroots club in Nigeria, drop a comment in the comment section and I'll reach out to you. If you know anyone who owns a grassroots academy in Nigeria, get in touch as well. I'd like to give support in one way or the other and also talk about those academies on this channel. Just like I said, I want to practice what I preach, which is it is our responsibility as Nigerians to promote our own stuff, promote the league, promote the players, talk about them. It's our own responsibility. It belongs to no one else. You can complain, oh, these people are not talking about us, they only talk about their own players. That's fine. You have to talk about your own thing. And then when that player becomes really, really great, then the international media can then come in. International media can then come in and, want to hype the player, praise the player. But we should start that first. And then talking about Nigerian strikers, there's a name I know he scored in the Europa League yesterday, or at least this week. It's called Cyril Dessas. And people might say, why don't you have him on your list? So why don't you include him in the team? For me, it's back to the system. Players are defined by the system they play in. Now, for the Super Eagles, especially if you're playing in Africa, and especially if Eric Chelle plays the system he wants to play the way he wants to play it, then I don't think Cyril Dessas will be a good fit because you have to have the energy, you have to high press, you have to go, high octane press, Zigengen press, whatever, but you have to be doing that. And like I said, he is not super prolific, because if you have a super prolific striker, you can then say, okay, he's not the most energetic player, but we know each time he gets one-on-one with the goalkeeper, he's going to score. Or if he has 5 chances, he's going to score 3. So we can sort of sacrifice his having to run up and down and put pressure on defenders because we know once he gets there, he's going to score. So for me, Cyril Dessas, that's what I think about him. Let's see what he does with Rangers come the end of the season. And then there's Victor Olatunji as well. Victor Olatunji playing for Sparta Prague. So he's been on good form as well. Scored in Champions League not too long ago. And let's see how he continues to develop. And there's Arorizim, the right back, Sparta Praha as well. Let's see how that shapes up because he scored on his debut and hopefully his form continues. And then there's this guy, Philip Otele. It's a winger, used to play for El Wahada, but he's moved on to FC Basel. He signed with FC Basel. Let's see how he plays. And I'm happy for him because usually when you end up going to the UAE, to Qatar, or you go to Saudi, it's really difficult for you to, and when you're not a super well-known player, it's really difficult for you to head back and get a decent club in mainstream Europe. So I'm excited to see what he does at Basel, because Basel is usually, a good club where if you want to develop your talents, and usually if you play very well there, you usually get signed by a top club in Europe, like Calafiori. He was playing at Basel and then he joined Arsenal, and then that's he played for Basel and then went to Italian Serie A club, that's Genoa, and then he got to play for, and then he got signed by Arsenal after the Euros. So the same thing, you got Renato Vega. He played well for Basel and then got signed by Chelsea, and then apparently heading on loan to Juventus. So you see the trajectory. So that could be a good move, for Filippo Telle. So let's see how that shapes up for him, and then hopefully football left in the Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, because one of the problems we have is that sometimes we hold on to the memories, the nostalgia of what these players used to be, of what they used to do, of how they made us feel you know in years gone by, which is not a bad thing, because it's good to appreciate your heroes. It's good to appreciate people who sacrificed a lot for you, but in this present time, if a player isn't cutting it, if a player isn't, hasn't updated his resume, like I said, as football players, you have to update your resume constantly, constantly. And Nigeria has way too many talented players in that midfield position, for the Super Eagles to still be holding on to the life of Ndidi. You know, I mentioned there are quite a lot of them. I've talked about Chris Santos, I've talked about Onyedika, I've talked about Beniza Kinsimiro, but there's Hamzat as well that plays for RC Lons. So there are lots and lots of players. There's Chukwani, although Chukwani, he could be, I think he has Danish and Nigerian citizenship as well. So let's see, let's see what happens where he opts to play for. But you have serious options in that central midfield role. So if indeed he isn't cutting it as he's not cutting it at this minute, then there's no reason for you to, because like if Nigeria was a San Marino, for instance, where you just have a couple of okay players and you don't have anyone else, then you stick to what you have. You don't have that many players. What are you gonna do? But when you have the amount of talent Nigeria has, you shouldn't be holding on to players that are no longer producing. Under any guise, under any type of excuses people want to give, we're holding on to players who can give experience. Football, at the end of the day, is an athletic, it's an athletic endeavor. You need to be able to run. You need to be able to move. And you can have all the intelligence in the world. You can have all the smarts experience in the world. What are you going to do if you can't move? There's this midfielder that used to play for Germany. I used to play for Germany. I used to play for, Patrick Matthew. I think Tariq George and Jacob Murphy should be looked at too. Yes, 100%. Jacob Murphy, not too sure on him, but I think you can never leave talent on the table. If he's willing, you get him on board as well. But Tariq George is a fantastic talent. Fantastic talent, super talent. It's not one that you will say he's too young and let him go. No, you need to integrate him. Just like I said in the previous video, so him, like Tariq George, Arehi Parabo Arehi, and even Rio Ngoma, Rio, Ngoma Adigun, that plays for Liverpool, is a 16 or 17-year-old, is another talented player as well, that you should be looking at. And one thing I want to tell people is these players that people say it's difficult to convince them to play for the Super Eagles, it's difficult, it's hard. No. Sometimes it's the timing. And I've said this before. If the way what Man City would say to convince a player to sign for them is different to what a Brighton would say to convince a player to play for them, what Man City would offer them will be different to what Brighton would offer them. Brighton can offer a player, say, you're going to play regularly. You invest him football, you're guaranteed. Same thing with Dortmund. Dortmund can tell the 17-year-old that guaranteed first team football, you play with us, you have experience, bam. So, but for Man City, you're not going to play every time, but you'll be part of a title winning team, we'll pay you 3 times more than Brighton will pay you. And that's it. And we all love Nigeria. We love Super Eagles. And a lot of us see Super Eagles as a gigantic brand in football. But if we're honest to ourselves, the European countries, England, France, Spain, in the world view are seen as the top countries in football, are seen as the big countries in football. So sometimes if you're going head on to compete with them at the same level and you're seeing a 16-year-old, 17-year-old and say, oh no, let's wait till he's 20 before we get him, or let's wait till he's 21 before we get him, you may end up losing out on the player. So if you see an 18-year-old like a Tyreek George that is absolutely destroying, when he plays for academy, it's like he's playing with people 2 or 3 years younger than him. And then when he comes in and plays a few 20 minutes, 15 minutes for the Chelsea first team, he doesn't look out of place. When you see that kind of player, you should tell them, okay, as an 18-year-old, we know you're young, but we're going to integrate you and make you part of this team. To offer him 10, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, want to play first team football. And if you offer most of these players first team football with the Super Eagles, you're going to get them. You will get them. 110% you will get them, if no buts, no maybes. Jacob Murphy, let's see what we can do with Jacob Murphy as well. But one thing I want to point out as well, I know I advocate for Dual-nationality all the time, but one thing I want to point out, if when you're shining, you're 18, you're 19, you're 21, 22, 23, NFF comes for you, you're nodding your head, you're saying, no, I don't play. And then you're now 29, 30, your legs are beginning to depart from you. Then that's why you want to play for the Super Eagles. We don't want that. For that, in that regard, with respect to that, I'm in support of what Obi Mikel said. You don't wait till you're wasted and then you decide to play for Nigeria like Shola Mobi, with all due respect. He could have played for Nigeria when he was younger. He was holding out for England, and then when age decided to catch up with him, then I want to play for England. And now that's what I would accept. I would accept a player that is washed off, that is, sharp at the minute, and then you say, oh, play for Super Eagles. No, not have that. So Akor Adams should be the next goalkeeper. The guy fantastic. Yeah, Akor Adams, Wrexham, he's very good. He's very good. I think he should be brought into the team. So for me, I think Noah Atubolu and Akor Adams should be the goalkeepers that come in to provide competition for Stanley Wabali. Like I said, a lot of the issues we have with the Super Eagles is a lot of people look at it and think, no matter what happens, I will play. No matter what didn't happen, no matter how I play, nobody will bench me. And that is an issue, and that's a problem. When players have that feeling that no matter what happens, they will still play. They will still be called up. They will still be the first names on the team sheet. So the same thing. Wabali has been fantastic for Nigerian Super Eagles, no doubt. I'm not saying he should be dropped. Because each time you suggest a new face or a new name, people say, oh, what am I going to throw this player away? No. Football is not won by 11 players. If you're talking about a competition, talking about a serious qualifier, it's not only by your 11 players on the pitch. You win those games by the strength of your squad, the depth of your squad, the quality of the players in your team. That's how you win it. So you can make substitutions, you can make changes. And what if Wabali, not wishing this on any player, what if he gets injured? Or what if he gets suspended? Multiple yellow cards. What happens? Are you going to to start struggling and looking for a goalkeeper then? Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. So for me, that's what That's what I think we should begin to consider. We should begin to consider, you know, uh, we should begin to consider this sort of players for the team. And now I know maybe I've shared this video before, but if you haven't seen Ebenezer Kinsimiro play, I just want to share this snippet with you. I want to share this snippet with you. A second, let's see if we can bring it up. Let's share it with you. So you can see how he controls the game. See his decision making on the ball. His decision making on the ball. And like I said, that's one thing we've lacked. Someone who is able to control the pace of the play. Look at the switch ball. We lack that. It may seem simple, switch ball, but that helps you to take play. And we lack that really. Look at him go. Look at him go. Scuff that shot. Okay, that's a poor shot, but you can see what he brings to the team. You can see what he can bring to the Super Eagles. Like, you can see what he can bring. Look at him putting his defensive shift. Pass again. Watch him again. That's it. The right play. The right play. Not every time you rush, you want to take a shot. That's it. That's it. That's it. Watch him again. Gets the ball. Right play. Look at the pass. Imagine that ball, that kind of pass heading to Victor Osimhen, running on goal. That's it. I know Victor Osimhen likes to make those early runs. Early run. So Kelvin says Uche Akin Onyedika is what we need in the middle. I agree with you 100%. Christos Uche can be the SCN type player. Raf Onyedika, Ebenezer Kinsimiro. We need these players in the team. We need these players in the team. My opinion. We need these players in the team. We need these players in the team. So, yeah. So, I want to say at this moment, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's stayed up and been part of this video. You've watched, you subscribe, you've commented. Really, I really appreciate you. Those who have been in the comment section: Patrick, Akere, Matthew, Kelvin Marvel. Happy to have you guys on here. And as well, if you'd like to come on and join as a panelist, I will have nice discussions as well. Having the comment section there. So in the next lives we'll be having, I'll send you the links. I think Kelvin, I saw comments you left. So from the next set of lives that'll be coming up, the links will be there. I'll drop the links there, and so you can join and we can have a chat. Now, there's one thing I want to say. Like I said, this channel is to promote Nigerian football, and it's also to, in whichever way, help support Nigerians as well. So for me, like I said, this is just a little token. It may not be big or mighty, but for once we get to 1,000 subscribers, 5 people will be given 10,000 naira each. So, like I said, it may not be fantastic, but it's something you can use to get a recharge card for yourself. You can just use to do something nice for yourself. It may not be fantastic, it may not be a big thing, but every little helps in every little way. Or just the joy of getting something. Not that it's going to be a life-changing thing, but it can be helpful. So at this point, we'll come to the end of today's video. Like I said, keep your eyes peeled on the channel for the info course where I'll be talking about, Ademola Lookman. So keep your eyes peeled on that. So Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video and share it as well so other people can see. As well as if you like the content, I'm hoping and praying that you indeed like this content. So at this point, I've come to the end of this live. Thanks to everyone who has stayed up and have been part of it with me and subscribe. Thank you very much. So I'd like to say at this point in time to have a splendid rest of your evening. Stay good and stay blessed. Bye-bye.